Okay, I know I keep harping on about this, but it's really to make sure that you all take care of this before it gets too late. How many of you have already updated your fingerprint clearance cards? Oh, I love my babies. You're all so good. How many of you had a horrible time doing it? It's okay. It's okay if you did. Some of you struggled a lot more than others. Just a reminder, fill out the application through DPS, get a reference code, and use that reference code to book through FieldPrint. If you do all of these things, it will be a much simpler process for you. Our next book club is going to be on April 14th, and it's going to be a real short, easy read. So I would love for you to join us. We are going to cover Crushing the Day. Some of you absolutely need to read this and need some organization in your life. If you are going to be a recipient of an award for WeServe, so their categories start at 2.5 million, and you have an interest in attending their roundtable awards presentation this year, please go ahead and register yourself. You can do that through weserve.realtor. If you have questions about the qualifying parameters, etc., you should be seeing emails from WeServe coming through about this, but you can also pull that up on their page. I'm so excited about this. So many of you have attended a One Summit in the past, and you learn a lot. You get to network with other agents. You get to drink yourselves under the table in Las Vegas. We've changed things a bit where I think this is going to be far more valuable than a 3-day stage show. We are making it hyper local. And so Phoenix is actually excited that we are going to be one of the hosting cities. So One Talks will be a month from tomorrow. So Friday, April 17th, it will be at Herberger Theater. It will be a mostly all-day event. We're looking at 9 or 10 to roughly 3 p.m. As I have more information, I will share it with you. But this is no sales pitches, no presentations from vendors, nothing but content from start to finish. And we have some really, really good speakers coming in to discuss growing your business and AI prompts and tips and tricks and ways that you can streamline things. But one of the things I'm most excited for, I'm going to moderate a top producer panel. So I've hand selected 4 agents. They are not all with Realty One Group. They are known for very different avenues of marketing techniques and different niche markets. So they are going to be presenting specifically on lead generation. Nobody else knows about this because I'm the one facilitating it. So congratulations, you all just got the first scoop. It is only $11 to participate in this. You will get breakfast, you will get lunch, and that $11 is donated to Phoenix Children's Hospital. So please, please make sure you mark your calendars for April 17th. I have a pretty high suspicion that we will sell out. There are only 800 seats available. And this is not a Realty One Group event. This is going to be a statewide event. So make sure as soon as you see this in my newsletter tomorrow, you get registered so that you can get your seat saved. Jake, come on up.
Good morning. How's everybody doing today? How's everybody doing? Great. All right. Hey, I just want to bring this up again, this video chat. It has been very successful so far. We have solved a lot of our members' issues by using this video chat. Well, they can go online, request a video chat where they can help them walk through a repair. It's real simple. Once they get the warranty with the Shield Plus or the Shield Complete, they can go on our app, and what they do is they just go down here on the phone and select video chat. It's going to ask what you want to do. Say I want to do the garage door opener. It's going to ask you a few questions. Okay, we're going to say, well, it doesn't open. So we click on that, hit continue, and then it's going to say start a video chat. And then you'll be connected with one of our experts who will help you troubleshoot the problem with the garage door. And the reason I use the garage door is I had a client 2 weeks ago who called me and wanted to know if the garage door opener was covered. And I said, well, what's the problem? She said, well, it's not closing all the way, it keeps going back up. And I said, have you tried our video chat? And she said, no, I said, it's totally free. Will you be able to talk to an expert? So she talked to the expert, and they found out that the two eyes on the bottom weren't lined up. All right? The one on the right had been hit and was off-center. He helped her straighten it back up. The garage door worked fine. She called me back up and said, this is great. You just saved me $100 by having a contractor go out there and do this. Okay, we've also had other things. People know what this is.
Faucet aerator.
This is an aerator for a faucet. I had a member call me and say that the water in the bathroom was coming out on an angle, and it wasn't very much pressure. She used a video chat. The expert walked her through taking this out, just cleaning it, and putting it back up, and it worked fine. All right? Same thing with the leaky underneath the sink. One of these washers. They hooked the pipe together, had a crack in it. It was causing a leak. All right? Video chat expert walked them through how to put a new one of these on. The leak was solved. A lot of this stuff can be done with a little bit of guidance for a homeowner, saving them a lot of money. So if you have somebody that has the Shield Plus or the Shield Complete, I highly recommend you use this as the first line of defense. If they cannot help you with it, they will put in a service request for you. All right? If they can't walk you through it. How many agents have a home warranty right here to the American Home Shield? Anybody have a warranty with the American Home Shield? Personal for your personal property. If you don't, you might think about getting it because you can use this video chat if you have a listing and you go out there and you find something. Okay, say for instance the sink's leaking or something. You can do that video chat right there at that listing, and they may be able to help you walk it through it instead of having a handyman go out there and do the repair. Because we know sellers, when they're selling a house, first thing they don't want to do is start putting money into the house. All right, but if we can help solve their problem through this video chat, this is what we intend to do. There's no other warranty company out there that offers this. Very simple with the Shield Plus and the Shield Complete. Download the app, do the video chat, use it as your first line of defense. We've helped so many people, and we're getting about a 5-star rating with all the people that we've helped them. So, any questions on that? Let me know. I'm here to help. And remember to put all American Home Shield warranties on all your buyers. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Jake. Who wants it?
I have a couple things to talk about today. First of all, I have flyers up at the front desk. This is a 1031 exchange class. How many people know what that is? Okay, good. That's awesome. This class is a $5 fee. Generally, we don't charge for classes if we don't have to pay. So we do have to pay for this one, so we're charging just a minimum of $5. It's on April 1st, and it doesn't mean that you can't go. You don't have to go. You have to go. Okay, so please show up if you can. That'd be awesome. We have other classes listed as well. If you have any questions about classes, please let me know. Another thing that I wanted to talk to you about, I don't have a graphic for it. On our app, the Rock Agent app, there is a toggle switch for the FinCEN for getting the fees on there. Okay, and when you go on there and you say, yes, it is a title or under a trust, it says, do you want to email your title company? And you can email us to warn us that there's one going to be coming through that has FinCEN with it. That really gives us a great heads up. It's a great way for you to talk about it and to also get in front of your clients about that too. Everyone knows what FinCEN is, right? Good. I like that. It's awesome. And then the last thing I want to talk about is I'm so excited that we are having some really great bus tours in Verrado. The Trumps have had both of their houses on it. They've already sold one of them. Doing great. We have a great time. We had a fun time, right, guys? Yeah. Yeah.
Right, guys?
Right, guys? Yeah. No. I don't. Yeah, I had to give you the evil one. No, but it is really a great way to see homes. And if you're a buyer's agent, you can come and get on the bus too. We generally try to take about 2 hours. It's fun. We're all together in the bus, so we get to problem solve and talk about properties and things like that. So if you're interested, it's a third Tuesday of the month. We'll be doing it for April and May, and then we're going to decide if we're going to do it over the summer because the summer is really hot. I know. So we'll see how that goes. But Tony's one of our sponsors as well, so we have a great time on that. That's all. Have a great day, guys.
Thank you. Tony.
My name is Tony Valdez, and I've been in the industry about 24 years now. And I want to thank all of you who have been so gracious to utilize many of my services and helping me grow my business and help me grow your business. So I want to thank you for that. This right here is a slide. It's you guys haven't used ChatGPT or any of that stuff. This is the kind of stuff it can make. And I'm not really, well, I'm pretty good at it. I'm pretty good at it. So this QR code will take you directly to a landing page that where all my CE classes are going to be held, lunch and learns. It tells you where they're going to be at, what time they're going to be at, and all that. So you can save that. For example, I've got 2 more coming up for this month. I've got more for April, and I'm just going to build out the calendar for the entire year so that you know exactly what's happening that I can provide along with the lunch and learns, etc. I was going to jump into that, but if you see in your seats, I put down this morning. I created I literally did this on Splod this morning. And this is what's happening in the market. Yesterday I did a video, and today I did this. And it kind of breaks everything down for you. I've got I have to do some talking points, but my own talking points. So this basically tells you what's going on with the markets. You know, the buyers and sellers are getting a little nervous right now. You know, what's going on with the market? Am I going to be able to sell? Am I going to be able to buy? That kind of thing. But we got to realize that new purchase applications are up 12%. So it's not a dying market. And this is way better than it was, what was it, when we hit 8% interest rate? Remember that? That was scary, okay? That was really frightening, but we're not even anywhere near that. We're now in the mid-6s on conventional loan. We're still a little under 6 for FHAs. So there's options out there, and if we do things like buy downs and concessions, and you know it, I mean, the sellers are able to, buyers are able to negotiate a lot better deal right now than they have been any time in the past. Okay, and you utilize that. So there's some talking points on the back for you guys that you can use as well. Any questions?
Tony, how about the longest lock-in timeline? What would that look like now?
The longest?
Yeah, what's the longest you can purchase the lock-in?
Typically 45 days. You can go longer than that, but it costs money.
Right.
So you can go down, like I've done 90 days, I've done 180-day locks, you know, but at that point it costs money to the buyer to do it.
Absolutely.
Okay. Typically I'm not a floater. In other words, I don't like floating interest rates because God knows I don't know what's happening tomorrow. I mean, I woke up on Monday a couple weeks ago like, damn, we're at war. You know, and that was really freaky. So, and I locked somebody immediately after that because all of a sudden it was going to cost them a point or a half a point to get the same rate that I quoted them. So we locked it right away. They eliminated that cost and made it happen. Okay. So it's very important that you stay on top of your lenders as well to determine what's happening in the market, because you can make that call and say, hey, things are happening. Have you locked my buyer? You know, have you locked it? Because a lot of times these people are floating, and they call it floating and hoping. You know, that's not good for you or the buyer or the seller or anybody in the transaction. The other thing I want to talk about is Hoper. So Hoper is an assistance program that is kind of really tough to explain, but it's an assistance program that buyers can utilize rather than doing a down payment assistance like something like a Home Plus. Okay, so this is a transaction I had about a month ago. Guy was buying a house at $285,000. They were doing Home Plus. Home Plus at that time was 7 1/8 for an FHA loan, 7.125 for an FHA loan. A Hoper loan, that would give them a payment of $2,404.78. He says, great. Now what happens with down payment assistance? We got to stay in the house 7 years, right, before it gets forgiven and any of that stuff, and they don't get any other advantages other than money, and it's really not free. I tell people that all the time, it's not free money, because you're going to be paying it in this rate right here. Hoper, on the other hand, will give a buyer, and I've got a little thing for you guys here, they'll give a buyer up to $13,000 for down payment, closing costs, whatever, okay? They get market rate, so 5.75, they get the market FHA rate, it has to be an FHA loan, market rate of 5.75, they get solar installed on the house, that's owned solar, it's included in the mortgage payment, and it's $36 less than what it would have been over here. with solar installed. So overall, when you explain that and show this picture to buyers, when I show that to them, they're like, well, this is kind of a no-brainer. You know, I get to reduce or eliminate my my APS costs or my electrical costs, but I can also take advantage on its own. So ultimately, yes, it'll take some time for them to break even, okay? But they get the advantage of having a lower cost on their energy costs, as well as the value because it's owned. So when they come to sell it, they have a value there. So that's just kind of what I wanted to go over today. And I think my 3 minutes are up. Thank you.
How many of you, just real quickly, how many of you attended the Hoper class when we hosted it? I will see if I can find that link and resend it out, because I think that this, for properties that qualify and buyers that can do it, I think that this is a great solution in lieu of DPA for sure. And in some cases, even better than a regular FHA loan. So definitely worth examining, but I'll see if I can find that link and send it back out because it's worthwhile information.
And the additional cost of the solar doesn't affect debt to income. So if solar costs $34,000, it doesn't affect the debt to income ratio, because FHA says that because you're reducing your power costs, we're not going to charge you an extra, we're not going to add that extra whatever it is a month to your DTI. So the approval is based on the original loan without any additional cost. It's a good deal.
Somebody asked if they heard you correctly, the 13K down for this cost.
Up to 13,000 towards that can be used for down payment, can be used towards closing costs, can be used to pay off debts. They can do whatever they want with that money. They can even put it in the bank because they got their own money or whatever. It's their money. So they don't have to utilize it specifically for anything other than it's their money. Does that help?
It was a question.
Awesome.
So
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It helps. I'll answer on their behalf. For those who didn't see the announcement, you now have double the pleasure, double the fun with Epic. So Barb is joining us here in Goodyear as well, and Surprise in Paradise Valley, just to offer you another option for a loan officer, so that you're fully taken care of, your clients are fully taken care of. Tony's still here. He's not going anywhere. You just have choices. So go ahead.
Hi, welcome everybody. Thank you for having me. I am familiar with a lot of people in this office, not all of them, but I'm so glad to be here, and I live locally. I also work in Surprise and PV like Tony. I've been with CMG and Epic since April 1st of 2017. No, 2019. I've been in the business since 2017. So pretty seasoned, not as seasoned as Tony, but pretty seasoned. He's already talked to you about a couple of the programs. One thing I want to add on the Hopper or the Hoper program is that if you run across a house that needs a new roof, they will also include a new roof. In addition to that, if it can tolerate that as far as the debt to income and the price and all of that. So that's also an advantage. So they're not going to put solar on a roof that, is in need of a new roof. And they cover all of that as far as, inspection and that. But the list and lock, who's got listings that have been sitting? Let me see a raise of hands. 1, 2, 3. So the list and lock program is a marketing tool for you, if you're not already familiar with it, that allows you to market a lower interest rate to compete with the local construction companies, right? The new construction. So I have information on this. It's very easy to do. You don't even, after I show you once, you're not even going to need me to run scenarios. But if you have a listing and say you're about to go to market with it at 500,000, you could do it at like 510 and then offer 20,000 in concessions if your seller agrees towards a lower interest rate. So the buy down, right? So you can advertise that lower interest rate based on the concessions that the seller has agreed to. It's a marketing tool that you can provide videos on your social media for. There's materials, there's things you can include in the MLS. You can change the first line in the description to say this home comes with a lower interest rate. And across the United States, people are going crazy about this list and lock, and they're really successful with using it as a marketing tool. So a lot of people come in late in the game, like after their listing's been sitting for a while, and now you're a little bit behind the 8 ball, right? But it still works. It's still a marketing tool, but you can use it either way, either on the front end or the back end. And feel free to reach out to me to learn more about that. And then we also have our rate rebound still. So if anyone locks right now and they're still upset about the rates, which all of us are, they can use the rate rebound up to 5 years, multiple times to refinance after 6 payments. So if they're buying in right now at 6% and next year rates are at 5.25%, then they can refinance at no lender fees. And they can do it multiple times up to 5 years. So feel free to reach out to me about more information, and thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Thanks, Barb. Welcome.
That's still an issue.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so some of you may have seen my post on Facebook that my birthday month is in May. Nobody knows about this. I know I'm very quiet every month when I celebrate, or every year when I celebrate my birthday. But in conjunction with that, I'm actually contributing to a worthy cause every single day in the month of May. And as part of that, I'm now going to drag you all into it as well. You're welcome. We're all in this together. So our one day has now become multiple days over the course of May. So you have multiple opportunities to help give back to the community in a variety of ways. Our first one is going to be by May 4th. So this will actually start in April, but the deadline for bringing them in will be May 4th, is Warm Feet for Warriors. It's literally socks for our soldiers. So it's an easy enough thing. Buy socks in bulk. I'll send out the list of specifically what they're looking for, and then you can bring them into the office anytime prior to May 4th, and then I will ship them all off to where they need to go. May 9th will be a mobile food pantry. So for people who actually want to get out into the community and assist, we will be doing this in conjunction with one of the local churches, and it will be in Avondale. It's an early day. It's Saturday at 7:30 a.m., but we will be handing out food for folks in need. And all you'll have to do is show up and help out. Put boxes together, deliver them to the people coming through. It'll take about 2 hours. The next one, this should be easy for all of you. This is literally on my birthday. We are going to do our book club that month. And because I'm extra snarky, we're going to do the latte factor inside a coffee shop, because why not have the irony of that? But it's going to be at Spencer's Place. Is anybody in here familiar with Spencer's Place? Excellent. Okay, so they are a coffee shop that hires on adults with disabilities to ensure that they have income, a place to go, or learning strong work habits. All you have to do is buy a cup of coffee. That's it. I'd love for you to join us for our book club that day as well, but you just need to pop in and buy a cup. That's it. And the last one is the Cooper Project. Has anybody heard of this before? So the Cooper Project brings awareness to infant lost. And what they do is their pink and blue bracelet program. So for those of you who are a little dexterous, we're going to make these bracelets that they then send out to people who have lost a baby. So again, we've got some hands-on options, we've got some buy options, we've got some bring things options. So you're gonna have a lot coming in May. I just wanted to go ahead and put the heads up now so that you knew what to mark yourself down for.
Which Spencer's Place location?
I will provide that. I'm not sure which one it's gonna be yet. I need to find out who can give us the best space for book club. I will be back on May 2nd. And then I'll be gone again on May 22nd through May 25th. But that's a holiday weekend, so nobody needs to worry about that. I'm going to see my otters because Harrison had his little leg removed and I haven't been able to check on him. So I need to go out to Florida just to see how he's healing. And then because they also have Raccoon Island, I decided why not? Let's go visit the raccoons while we're there too. All right, Queen of Hearts, what do we have? 40, oh, wait, we got more participants. Come on, bring up your $5 and a business card. Wait, nope, we got another one. We need one more. Who else? $5 and a business card. Peer pressure at its finest. Thank you, madam. All right, so now what are we up to? Yes. Okay, we have some amount of money for whoever's card we draw today. Oh, wait.
$5 per card.
I don't have a business card yet, but I'm doing about that.
Oh, they're good enough. Okay. Okay, we're at some random number. So who does not have a card in here? We think it's roughly $50.
Oh.
Okay. any card, but if it's the queen, you're about to win over $1,100. Queen of Hearts. Thank you.
Come on, we're ready for you, dude. You got this. There it is.
This is the saddest thing we've ever seen. So close to the Queen of Hearts. Oh, everybody was like, oh, no. And it continues. All right, lots and lots of stuff going on. All right, have all of you seen the progressive disciplinary policy that has gone out now multiple times in multiple emails? Some of you are even more acquainted with it because I've already had to issue notices against you. And you are now getting this as an attachment to your email. All right, are there any questions about how this progression rolls? Okay, your first offense is a written warning. That's literally an email from me. Your second offense is a written notice that is added to either your licensee file or your transaction file, depending on what the offense is. There is a form for this. The third one is a statement of violation and corrective action acknowledgement. This means you actually have to put in writing what your game plan is to ensure future compliance. I have to sign it, you have to sign it. It goes in your file. Mandatory company assigned education. I don't know what that looks like yet, but I imagine it's going to be a Commissioner's Rules CE class that you're going to have to take in addition to your regular CE credits. So you can't apply it to both. This is going to be 24 hours plus 3. And finally, $100 fine for the offense, and then our fifth offense and any offense thereafter. I don't think this is nearly enough personally, but this is what I was overruled on. So this is how things are wrapping. I charge you $1,000. Last month it was $500, but now I've had to deal with some of this shit, so now it's gone up to $1,000. There are some circumstances that I want to discuss. So right now, the biggest issue, and this should be no surprise because many of you are so guilty about it, is late documents. I don't even know how many documents are late yet because some of you have not even uploaded documents that were signed maybe a month ago. So we're not even up to date or up to par with what I can reasonably expect. The first day we implemented this earlier this week, I had to send out 27 notices. One day. I do not have time to send out 27 notices, and this is just an email. I can't even imagine how, because I have to go through, if it's a team, I have to figure out which team member it is. I have to then log it into a spreadsheet with all of the notes associated with that for what type of offense, what number of offense, what the address was associated with this. To get through 27 of them, it took me 2.5 hours. I'm not even having to put actual written notices together or statements of action together and send these all out. So help a sister out. Please be better about this so I am not spending hours a day having to send all of these notices out to you because you did not upload your documents in a timely manner. Just so you are aware, we are not even sending notices if you have passed the 72 hours. We are sending notices if you have passed 10 business days. Why are any of you holding documents for more than 10 business days? Listen, people, you have an AI assistant built into SkySlope. You answer literally 5 questions and boom, it creates a file. I'm being facetious, I understand this. It creates a file for you and you upload your documents. There is no reason that should take you more than 10, 15 minutes max if you have to go back and forth to find contact information for people. And the old document delay letters that I read would crack me up because it's something about the client did this and that. No. The client signed the document. Clearly, that's the problem we have. The client signed the document and you did not upload the document. I don't care what the client had going on the back end. This is an agent problem. This is the biggest problem, and I'm going to tell you it's the biggest problem with ADRE because it's totally trackable. Advertising, it comes, it goes. Somebody may see it at the right time. Somebody may report it. I'm not saying don't be compliant in your advertising, but I'm telling you when ADRE does audits on our file, and they do randomly, this is the easiest one to pull up because all they have to do is look at the log. When was something signed? When was something uploaded? Period. So please make an extra effort to be extra compliant with your timing. There are situations where this is going to be a little bit more of a challenge. New builds especially. I understand that you may not get an executed new build contract back even within 10 business days. I know that. So if that does occur, one, you should be making an effort to get it as soon as possible, which means you might have to reach out to your buyer because they have a copy. You might need to reach out to your buyer to get that to upload it. But if that doesn't happen, if you get it back 3 weeks later from the builder, we won't put you into the PDP if you upload a copy of that email that shows when you received it. Okay, we don't want to have you fall into a violation if legitimately a violation did not occur. But we have to know that. We can't just suspect, oh, because it's a new build, it's probably not an issue. We have to have evidence of that to show to the department. If you, and this has already happened a couple of times, if you had a BBA signed, which hopefully you did, and you created a pre-contract file inside SkySlope, and then you went to convert the file and your documents either disappeared or you converted the file, that deal canceled, and now you have to create a new file for the buyer. Same thing, just draft a real brief note into the notes section that indicates BBA was originally uploaded to Leah Kramer, because that's what it would be, right? For pre-contract, it would be the name of the client. Just put a little note in there so that we know, and again, then we won't put you into the PDP roster. Questions about that part? There's a couple in the chat. Okay. Y'all are making me work today. Are the disclosures in SkySlope? I disclose in the MLS and on the purchase contract. Is there a separate disclosure? I'm not sure which disclosures you're talking about. All right, have you moved ahead to ABA? I haven't gotten to that part yet. Okay. Yeah, I'll get to that one in just a minute. What about BBEEA if your clients aren't under contract? Okay, your buyer broker agreements are contracts. So the second they are signed, and by the way, they need to be signed with the ABA and with the agency disclosure. Those are the 3 documents that are required to be signed immediately in advance of working with a buyer, because they all reference one another and they're all for RESPA compliance purposes. So those 3 documents must be signed upfront by the buyer prior to showing any homes, and then you need to create a pre-contract transaction file inside SkySlope for that buyer. Were there others that I missed?
No,
Okay, so I think the question was regarding this one. So this is actually not a new rule, but in the wake of some of the other things being discussed, I wanted to make sure you all were aware. So disclosure required when you or a family member has a financial interest outside of compensation, outside of your commission, meaning that there is going to be a relationship, and the perfect example is you are representing the client, your spouse is their lender. That has to be disclosed in writing to all parties. So if you have any relationships like that that are ongoing, you need to have that disclosed in writing to all parties. It can be on the contract, it can be via email, just some sort of notice has to be presented to the other side to make sure that they are aware that that relationship exists. Which ties into our ABA. I'm very frustrated by this. I have been fighting a fight for you that you don't even know about, because I don't think that the verbal discussions, the verbal representations we are getting from ADRE actually jive with the written rule. But because they have made such a stink about this, it's now getting passed down to you. How many of you heard about Jennifer Weiner and the situation with her title company? None of you have any idea. So she's a very high producing agent. She had a partnership with Magnus Title. She did not disclose that relationship to the other parties. Her clients were aware, supposedly. The other side was never made aware. The Department of Real Estate filed, I don't even know what this formal term is called, an injunction against her, certainly a complaint. Not a client, not the other side, the Department of Real Estate. This was just settled 2 weeks ago on Friday. They decided that they would only examine 1 year of files, while there were 6 that would fall into this category. And that 1 year resulted in $650,000 worth of fines for failure to disclose. They settled for 90. I don't know about you, but I don't got $90,000 to be handing over to other people, to the Department of Real Estate, to whoever's trying to come after my money, all because of failure to disclose. Can you imagine if they examined all 6 or 7 years or however many that was? They also suspended her license for 2 years. So all that being said, that is a real-time example. I understand that relationship is a little different. Jennifer was personally benefiting from the relationship. However, this is what has opened up the can of worms with the Attorney General's office in confirming that if anybody under the umbrella of your brokerage has a financial interest in other companies that are settlement partners, this now goes beyond RESPA. This falls into a disclosure issue through the Department of Real Estate. With that being said, I briefly mentioned it, and now I need to go into greater detail. Our affiliated business arrangement, again, needs to be signed up front with your listing contract, your buyer broker agreement, and in advance of any purchase contract, it needs to be provided to the other side. I think this is really easy for 3 of these. You just get it signed with the buyer broker, you just get it signed with your listing contract, you just get it signed when you're getting ready to submit the offer over, or ideally you already have that because you had it with the buyer broker, and you send a copy of that with your offer to the listing agent. Where this is really going to be a challenge is how do you as a listing agent get that over to a prospective buyer in advance of them submitting an offer? We don't even know that somebody's submitting an offer. The best resolution we can come up with, and this is not fail-proof, the best resolution we can come up with is that you must put this into your MLS docs. Does everybody know how to upload a document into your MLS documents? If you don't, let me know. I'm not even joking about this. I want to be sure you are aware how to handle this. If you weren't aware, you should also use that MLS docs tab for things like a lead-based paint disclosure, an HOA addendum, things that should be part of the offer right up front. That is the place for it. Yeah. I mean, technically, yes. That is a great question, but yeah, technically, yes. So when you have that situation, so she asked about new builds. In essence, if you have a new build situation, should we be providing a copy of that to the builder? And the answer is yes. All parties must be, like, it doesn't differentiate. All parties must be made aware of whatever that financial interest is. So then it led to the question of, okay, how do we do this and make sure that they receive it? I think we're kind of leaning on it's not our duty to ensure they've received it. It's our duty to ensure that we've disclosed it in a reasonable method where it can be found. So with that, we're going to have you put not just this into the MLS docs, but we're going to have a little line inside of semi-private or private remarks that in essence says, hey, this says you must, please include the attached disclosure with all offers. But what happens if they don't send it? This has been an ongoing argument. The pushback was, then you have to send an email to them before you do anything else with the offer. Okay, and then what? And then you have to upload a copy of that email showing that you sent it into your SkySlope folder. I mean, this is just going, I said, nope, I'm not playing this game. Come at me, bro, because I am ready for a fight on this. We will put it into the MLS docs. And just as an extra precaution, thank those ladies back there because they do an MLS audit for you. And if they don't see it in your docs, they're going to put it in there for you. However, if they're doing an MLS audit and we don't have documents already because you haven't put it into the file, you're already behind the 8 ball. So do you see the problem? They shouldn't ever have to upload that because your shit should be done already. But we are trying to create an extra layer of protection for you just to ensure that this doesn't cause greater issues. Okay, hold on. I got people questions. No. So we now, just because we want to make this extra fun, we now have a different version of the ABA that has a cover sheet that says, hey, please include per ADRE, we're providing this to comply with the rules. Please include a copy of this with your offer to verify receipt. It will have that cover letter and then a version of the ABA that does not even have signature lines on it. So that is the copy that we will want you to upload into the MLS. If you don't upload that copy, you just upload the copy that you have signed by a client. I don't give a shit. At the end of the day, whatever you have is fine. Just make sure one of these ABAs is appearing. Yes.
Well, my question is, I've seen some different back and forth with some of the other brokers about saving the email and making sure you send it if they don't send it. Is it not just easier to just ask the other side at a time?
So the reason that we haven't pushed for that is because we can't force another party to sign a non-regulated document. So could you ask them to do so? Sure. Will some of them push back? Yes. Then do we have all of that information available indicating what transpired? Maybe. So we're kind of leaning on the side of, hey, at least if it's in the MLS, we can show it was available for disclosure purposes. We've done our due diligence as far as making an effort to have that information available without forcing action on the other party. We're going to ask them to send a copy with their offers, but if they don't, then I'm going to go on record and say the buck stops there. We made it aware. We made them aware of it. Katya, did you have another question? Okay. Okay.
It's the one with the cover sheet and where it's not.
It will be. Yeah, if it's not already, it will be. And I wrote it, so I modified it. So I will go ahead and I will include that attached document inside the recap for the team meeting today. So if you just want a quick, easy version to download to your computer, you'll have that available. I've been writing a lot of stuff lately. I really love you all, but this is getting tiresome. Okay, now who do we have? But after PC from buyer are sent to listing agent, does the LA then send the documents to them regardless? After PC from buyer is sent to listing agent. Oh, I see what you're asking. So this is, Jen, this is why I want you to put it in the MLS tab, in the docs tab, in essence, to eliminate that process entirely. Instead of going through this back and forth, really all I need you to do is upload a copy of the MLS ABA into your MLS docs. What was the verbiage we need to add to our listing for the ABA? Tiffany, that'll go out. So I don't love what they have written here, but it'll be some variation of that. So I'll include that in the email as well, just so that you know. Questions? I'm literally up here sweating.
On the violations for the disciplinary, are those all the same? So is it like social media one or the social media like job?
Great question. So there's different categories. So we have 4 different categories. It will be late documents. It will be advertising or marketing violations. The other one is going to be in relation to the ABA. So you failed to have the buyer broker agreement. So this is different than docs or late docs. So late docs are you uploaded something late to your file. If you see a notice that says late ABA ready or buyer broker agreement, it means that you didn't all have those signed when you should have. So if we can see that you got a BBA signed after the purchase contract was signed, you have a problem. If we see that the ABA was signed or the ready form, the agency disclosure was signed after a purchase contract was signed, you have a problem. If your dates on your BBA, ABA, and agency do not line up, you have a problem. So that is going to be the distinguisher. And then we have a weird one for other. I'm not sure what, I mean, I know a lot of what other could be, but I don't even know how that would come into play. So this applies to each type. So you could have 4 violations, please don't, of late documents, 2 violations of advertising, and 3 violations of a late ABA, BBA. And I have to keep track of all this, just so you know. And it doesn't tie over. So you don't start getting the fines at the 5th level until it's a 5th in that specific category. Confused? I am. Do you know how hard this is to even mentally keep track of all this? Kelly. Thank you for admitting that you're a chronic offender. So this year it's going to go until December 31st, and then it will restart on January 1st and run for a calendar year. So this entire policy will reset every January 1st. Meanwhile, I'm making my own rules that if you get past number 3 and I have to do all this work on your behalf, I'm just going to sever you. Anybody else? I know there is a lot here. I'm trying to make this easier, but there's just so much going on right now. Yeah. Correct. So keep in mind, you'll have it signed with your contract agreements with your respective clients. Easy peasy. If you're not already using templates to have this set up, I strongly recommend you do so. Why you all have different documents coming in at different times is just bizarre to me. It's a waste of your time. It's a waste of the client's time, and it's super easy. Template, ready to go. These are the 3 docs I need signed right now. Have it all done at once. The wild card is this thing with the MLS. And right now we're going to ask that they supply a copy, but really all I need from you is to upload it into the MLS. If you've done that, you've done your job. Okay, well, that's exciting. Let's go ahead and move on to the next troublesome situation. A couple of things that you may not be aware of, but really that I think might help you get organized or better organized, and definitely will serve as a better means to log some of these things inside your SkySlope account. If you weren't aware, you have a transaction file specific email address associated with all of your files. So you can CC this email address on all of your communications, and it will timestamp and log them in the file itself. So in essence, you could treat this email address like a virtual assistant. Just a good CYA. I've mentioned this before. There's not a singular purpose for this. I just think this is a good way. God forbid something ever happens to your email server, at least you have a backup to show you've done what should be done. The other part of this is splitting documents. I can't tell you the number of times I log in and poor Alan is like, hey, you only need to upload the purchase contract here. Hey, only the agency disclosure goes here. And you're like, but I don't know how to do this because I'm printing everything and then I'm scanning them in one by one because I got one big email back or one single attachment back. All you have to use is this splitter tool, guys. So upload that whole 85-page document, that single PDF, and then use the split function inside SkySlope to break it apart. Page 1, agency. Page 2 through 4, HOA addendum. Page 3, solar addendum. All of that, you can do it right then and there. I would actually prefer to have a single PDF document and do it this way than individual documents that I have to upload individually. This is way easier. So if you didn't know that this existed, it is here and it is for you. Buyer broker agreements, I didn't realize that this was a problem until a couple of you had mentioned it. So I briefly referenced this before, but I just want to reiterate it. Buyer broker agreements in SkySlope will need to be re-uploaded if your buyer cancels a purchase contract. Okay, so you created a pre-contract file with your buyer broker agreement, your agency, and your ABA. You converted that file because they accepted or they had an offer accepted. But then that deal cancels. And there's a very good chance that deal is going to cancel. Let's be real. So when that happens, all of your documents go away. You need to recreate a buyer broker pre-contract file and re-upload those docs with a note that these were previously uploaded under this address. I wish SkySlope had a better way for you all to do this. We have encouraged them to come up with a solution that would allow you to cancel out just because you can do this with listings. So I know the technology exists. You can cancel out just the contract without canceling out all of the documents. So we are trying to get SkySlope to work on that. But in the meantime, we have to have some point of reference to where those documents were. Okay, now that I'm done with all of that, is everything clear as mud? Yeah, Claudia. Hopefully.
Yes. Communicating.
Oh, our OA definitely know, and Alan knows. But if you're using a TC, hopefully, if you want to chat with me, I can let you know which TCs definitely know this because they ask me all the right questions and they're already on board. Correct. Correct. Some of this was new. Like even I didn't know this part about, I just assumed like listings, buyer broker agreements would just fall back to pre-contract files. I didn't realize that was not happening. So some of this may be newer information, but if they didn't know before, they know now. I actually had another agent ask me about this, something regarding TCs. And I'm like, I'll put my TCs up against my standard agents any day of the week when it comes to compliance. I guarantee you they know more. All right. I'm seeing you guys bump into this more and more. So I just want a real quick recap of FIRPTA. How many of you know the basics of FIRPTA? Okay, we're seeing a lot of iffy-iffies. Okay, let's hit just a few key points. I don't expect you to be experts. That's what CPAs, tax attorneys, somebody else is there for, okay? The actual companies that handle the facilitation. Price points. What are the price points that involve FIRPTA? 300,000. So if it's below 300,000, what? No withholding. Okay, so if it's under $300,000, there's no withholding. What's the next bracket? Oh, this is where we lose people. All right, 300,000 to $1 million. What is the withholding? 15% unless an exemption exists. Okay, so here's where FIRPTA gets wild. Who can accurately tell me what the occupancy requirements are for FIRPTA? I'm hearing a lot of things that are probably close, but not quite hitting it. I hate this because it doesn't make as much sense as you think it does. If the buyer occupies the premises as their primary residence or second home, or an immediate family member does, for at least half of the time that the property is occupied, not 6 months, not half of the year, half of the time that the property is occupied, then the 10% exemption exists. So if the property is occupied totally 6 months out of the year by any people, but 4 of those months it is occupied by the buyer, does the exemption exist? Yes. Now the exemption again is it takes it from 15% down to 10%. If the property price is over $1 million, what is the withholding amount? 15%. There's no exemption for that. If it's over $1 million, it's 15%, period. If you are representing a seller where FIRPTA may apply, please know that and they should know, you should communicate to them, if my withholding is based on how the buyer intends to occupy the premises, would that be something I probably want to know in advance? If my difference is going to be 10% versus 15% of $1 million home, would that be something I would want to know in advance? Yes. So I have a clause inside Leah's contract clauses that I would counter back with, that in writing, the buyer is going to agree that they fit these parameters accordingly, and that they are going to make sure that we are only required to withhold the 10% at close of escrow. This has come as a very big shock to a couple of our sellers, so I want you all to be prepared. If FIRPTA doesn't apply at all, don't worry about this. But I'm seeing FIRPTA coming up more and more. Canadians are escaping like as fast as they can. So with that, obviously comes some of these sales that this is going to apply. If you have questions, let me know, but just kind of know that those are the basic parameters. Anything on FIRPTA? Oh, there's so much to this. Every time the market shifts, you all forget how to do your jobs. So I want to do some rapid fire with BINSRs because I know that there have been, I don't think they're recent because it was 2022, but ultimately for some of you, this appears to be more recent changes. So very quickly, let's discuss the BINSR. Is it acceptable to state seller shall repair the following items from the inspection report? 1.2, 1.5, 7.11, and 8.3, so long as you provide a copy of the inspection report. Why? Really, that's probably the best answer. Yes, we're making them work. Here's an easy way to remember this. How do you fix numbers? You don't. The litmus test, if this ever goes to litigation, is without referencing any other documents. What was the repair request? And was it fixed? So assume that the inspection report doesn't even exist. Was the buyer's request clearly put forth and then the seller responded accordingly? So please make sure that you are handling that. Almost every BINSR repair item will start with repair, replace, or correct something, and then follow it up. Now, when you do this, certainly cite the inspection summary or the inspection report as a parenthetical citation. That's an English word or phrase, which means in parentheses, you are actually citing the number that it is associated with. Again, this is just for reference. The repair itself needs to be clearly spelled out. We're just letting them know where on the report they can find more information if necessary. If a buyer did have a professional inspection performed, if a buyer did not have a professional inspection performed, can they still ask for repairs? I don't know where this came from, where they're like, well, they didn't even do an inspection, so there's nothing to ask for. How many of you have worked with a VA buyer who had absolutely no money and the dad came by just to look things over for them? If you haven't, I'm sorry, you will get all sorts of experience in this field. They may have turned on and off lights, they may have turned on and off faucets, they may have walked the perimeter. Of course they can ask for repair still. That's just because they didn't pay for a home inspection doesn't mean that they lose their ability to ask for things. The buyer could be an inspector, that is very true. But if that's the case, then they had a professional inspection performed. If a buyer did not use a professional inspector, do they sign the BINSR twice on page 2? Yes, they're signing for two reasons. The first one is they've either accepted the premises or they've asked for repairs on page 1. The second part but the signature for those repair requests is on page 2. The second line below that is a waiver of professional inspections. So they need to sign in 2 places, which means they do need to make some sort of acknowledgement on page 1 for whatever they're doing. So 2 parts if they did not do it a professional inspection. This is not the place for them to waive their inspection period. Okay, these are 2 different things. Waiving your inspection period is a 0 on line 213 of the purchase contract, meaning I have 0 days to inspect the property. Never recommend that. Even if I were the seller, I wouldn't want that. If somebody put 0, I'd probably counter them back with 3 days, because that means that everything fell on me as the seller from a liability perspective for disclosure by them not having the opportunity to conduct their own due diligence. I am not a fan of waived inspection periods. I don't care what kind of market we're in. So if they're doing that, that's a different situation than I've waived professional inspections. So please know the difference between that. Is it acceptable for a buyer to ask for a credit, a price reduction, and or a home warranty in lieu of repairs? How many say yes? How many say no? Those who say yes, if what?
If you also note what you're disapproving of.
Perfect. You deserve a hug for that answer. You first have to specify the items the buyer is disapproving of. So you can't just write onto the BINSR that buyer wants a credit in lieu of repairs. You have to first state, hey, buyer disapproves of the condition of the roof, the age of the HVAC, the pedophile next door, whatever it is. They need to disapprove of those items first. Then they can go ahead and write on the BINSR. They can request whatever it is that they want in lieu of repairs. This was the primary change that was made to the BINSR in 2022 that allows you to address things outside of simply requesting repairs. There is no obligation for the buyer to ask for repairs. They can disapprove of items and ask for a credit or a price reduction or a home warranty instead. Is it acceptable for a buyer to ask for the following? Seller shall have a licensed plumber determine the source of the leak and repair accordingly. Why? Carmen. Correct. The contract says, hey, buyer at buyer's cost and sole discretion shall conduct any and all inspections, investigations, evaluations that they deem important. So they cannot ask the seller to perform inspections, evaluations, or investigations on their behalf. This is an invalid request. Now, the follow-up to this is, so when you get it, how do you handle it? Well, one, I educate the other side about how we're going to respond, but in essence, it's going to be that was an invalid request. I'm going to write that right on the response of the BINSR personally, unless the seller is willing to do it. But guys, here's the risk in having the seller do it. If they now perform this inspection and other things are discovered, then what? Now we have a disclosure issue. Now are they on the hook to make all of these repairs? So it really just becomes a big mess. So on this side, make sure that your buyers are aware that if the inspection report comes back and references things about the roof or about the pool equipment or about plumbing, they need to hire those contractors to go out and give them a more definitive explanation of what is wrong, so that way we can communicate that to the other side if we're going to ask for repairs. Now, how many of you know what is my standard response when I'm a seller on a BINSR? Throw money at it. I have seen more issues regarding BINSR repairs than anything else when it comes to closing delays, after the fact issues, post-closing issues. Number one, by a far margin or a wide margin, this is number one, the biggest issue. So I know some sellers like, well, hey, I'm handy, I'm gonna do this. It's great that you're handy, but at the end of the day, do you want to eliminate future problems now? Because we can stop future problems today. Just throw money at it and all your problems go away. When must the buyer provide a copy of the inspection report or reports to the seller? Upon receipt. So that means as soon as I receive it as the buyer's agent, I am forwarding a copy to the listing agent. Not with the BINSR right away. Strategically, as we've discussed, if you've attended my BINSR class, this is a smart way to do this because those sellers who do have pride in their homes, what is going to happen? They're going to start fixing things you haven't even asked for yet. The other beauty of this, let's say they don't go that far. They just received a report with 78 items and they are probably in panic mode. But what happens then when your buyer requests a BINSR and they've only requested 8 things to be fixed? Yes, this is all about managing expectations and being strategic. So always send those reports over as soon as you receive them. So I'm torn on this because I'm curious where this would actually go in a litigious situation. In many ways, I'm like, well, no, because by receiving that, now we have a higher obligation and duty to disclose because we've just been made aware of more things than we would have been made aware of otherwise. So if this deal goes south, now we have to update all of the SPUDs, we have to provide additional disclosures, we have to do all that. What I'd be very curious about from a legal perspective, because this provision is written into the contract, and because our contract says we must cure for provisions that are not upheld, could we still be liable for those disclosures? Because there is a reasonable expectation for us to have had those, only to not have those. Do you see why I have so much gray hair and why I really don't sleep much at night? Because these are the things that are going through my head. Like, realistically, what is the better alternative? I don't know because it hasn't been litigated.
Is it, difference between the summary report and the full?
It should be all reports. So you should be sending over the summary and the full inspection report.
What is the best, moving forward with the listing, if a buyer canceled and they did submit the inspection report, is it best just to share the report as a disclosure?
Yeah, so I've shared this a few times if you've sat in on my BINSR class, the same sort of thing. Again, this is 50-50 torn, including even AAR legal, as to what do you do. I am a firm proponent of give them everything you've got. Because at the end of the day, the person who ultimately determines was this a material disclosure item or was it not is the buyer. And the only way to eliminate that concern is by providing them with documents of everything you, the seller, has at their disposal, which includes former inspection reports. So if I were the seller, to protect my ass as best as possible, I would put into my SPUDs, for additional disclosures, please see former inspection report. And I would send the report over with my SPUDs. Yes. Yes, so regardless of who paid for it, it's not their property, so to speak. So at the end of the day, we're using this for disclosure purposes. I have more. If your seller has an American Home Shield coverage during the sale period and they get the inspection report, can any of those items that might need to be? Probably. Yeah, Jen, there might be. It depends on specifically what items we're talking about. But if it's major mechanical systems, especially within the house, they may have coverage on that. So that's another great reason to put listing coverage on your properties. It's very inexpensive to do. It's not payable until closing. And this is one thing that may save your sellers a bunch of time and issues down the road.
$1,500 worth of coverage.
Yep.
You're walking in with $1,500 saying, here, seller, the thing you have is I have $1,500 in the bank that I can use to any system breakdown that fails with normal repair.
And that's not going to include everything, right, guys? Like, that's not going to be your roof. That's not going to be some of the other things. But that can go a long way with some of the issues that we've seen. So just something to keep in your back pocket, something that I would actively promote within my pre-listing presentations, just so that they know that that's available to them. If the buyer asks for a licensed contractor to be used for a $100 repair and the seller agrees to make all repairs, must the seller use a licensed contractor? AAR has done one of these on this. So once upon a time, the answer was no, and the answer was no because the contract says repairs must be made in a workmanlike manner. It doesn't state anything about certain costs or issues having to be covered by licensed contractors unless it exceeds a certain dollar amount, which was the handyman exception, which is currently, does anybody know that that's actually currently being considered to be increased, which makes sense. So what does the handyman exemption cost right now? Does anybody know what it's supposed to be going up to? $3,500. Yeah. So I think that this is going to be a bigger thing if it passes. Right now, I don't know if it's in the House or Senate or wherever it is. But if it passes, then that would increase that amount to $3,500, which by the way means we're going to end up getting another update to the purchase contract if that happens. But going back to the question at hand. So if they put this in and your seller just universally agrees to the repairs, the current stance of AAR legal is that means that they agreed to the repair requests as they were written. So what I want you to do is, if that is not the intention, and I would hope that's not the intention on a stupid $100 repair, that our seller actually needs to respond accordingly and be snarky and reference in accordance with the purchase contract, the repair shall be made in a workmanlike manner. Now, if it exceeds the $1,000 limit or it does require somebody specialized in a certain field, and I will tell you right now, almost every HVAC repair will fall under a specialized field regardless of cost. So just a heads up on that. That we still have to address it. So we can't just universally agree to fix it and then not use a licensed contractor. This has already been pushed through in a couple of different parameters. And like I said, the opinions on this have changed. So I just want to make you all aware. Questions on the BINSR? Correct. If they wrote on there, seller shall use a licensed contractor for XYZ. Yep. Licensed contractor to repair this, licensed contractor to repair that, and you just check the box, seller agrees. You've just, in essence, in writing, agreed that you were going, and part of this, honestly, guys, and it kind of makes sense. I think part of this is stemming from the correction that we made to the BINSR in 2022 that says correct or address. So now, in essence, that address gave us the chance to modify the underlying terms of the contract. And while this wasn't the intention behind it, the intention was to allow for credits in lieu of repairs. I think that this is how they're going to skirt this. So now if that is not how it is going to be repaired, we need to make that clear in our BINSR response that it is not going to be handled that way.
Also on that video chat, these contractors are licensed, insured. So you can use that and they would qualify, would they? Because they are licensed and insured.
Depending on what it is. If the seller is actually the one making the repair, I like this. I'm going to have to figure that out. That's a great point. I don't know if the physical person making the repair has to be licensed or if they would allow that in a case like this. Yeah, let me do some research on that. Yeah.
It's the buyer cancel, like if you're planning on doing it, if you're going to have it done.
Yeah, but here's the thing, guys. So I know that that's the concern, right? That you're going to write all this up, and in essence, that's going to give them the ability to cancel where potentially they may not have been able to. You know what's worse than having them cancel then? Is having them cancel at the very end of the day because we didn't make the repairs accordingly. We're 3 days prior to close of escrow. We're providing these receipts, and now they're delaying closing. And now our buyer or our seller is going to pay double because the only remedy to that is having a licensed contractor come out and verify that the work was done correctly and provide receipts accordingly. So, or just throwing the money at them. Again, just give money to them and then you avoid all of these issues. Leah sounding smarter and smarter, right? Very quickly, what is the response time on an offer or counter offer? It does not exist. There is no such thing as a response time on an offer or counter offer. But Leah, line 437 gives a day and time. That is correct. That is a term of acceptance. That is not a response time. So quit calling me saying, but the seller didn't respond by the time they were supposed to. They weren't supposed to do shit. You put that as part of your terms of acceptance, and all that says is if the seller has not accepted, rejected, or countered your offer by that day and time, we don't have a deal. So if they do it after the fact, the buyer's not obligated to move forward. That's all that says. The seller has no obligation to do anything because you don't have a signed contract. contract. So quit referring to this as a response time because it is not a response time. Those words do not appear anywhere in that clause. They are terms of acceptance. I'm going to share the market stats just via email because I haven't had the actual graphic come through from Tina with Cromford yet. So just keep an eye on that. Just know on a slightly positive note, deals are actually up. Like we're looking good year over year. I know that it hasn't made an alarming amount of difference. It may not be super noticeable yet, but we are actually having more contracts, having more closings, having more listings, which kind of offset some of those. But we're starting to actually taper off on the new listings coming onto the market, and our pending sales are starting to go up, which is typical for this time of year, but it's looking more positive. So just keep that in mind. All good things. And for those of you who survived the lockbox debacle of 2026 on Sunday, if you weren't out showing homes, you don't know that this happened, but Super had a nationwide outage. So we had people at the homes, and God love you for all calling me and asking me about it like I freaking know what's going on. Yes, that you could not access lockboxes. So this was a ton of fun on Sunday. So I thought that this would be a little funny for you when the lockbox isn't working, but you drove an hour for the showing. Some of you know I'm like, find a doggy door, find a window, let yourself in through a back door. I don't know what you got to do, but figure out a way to get in that house if it's necessary. All right, everybody, that is all I have for you today. Have a good one.